automating 71% of call volume with intelligent customer service automation. Why regulated industries fail at automation, and how the agentic completion layer fixes it. In banking, insurance, and telecom across the US, UK, and EU, enterprises have poured millions into conversational AI, chatbots, and digital self-service. Yet the same operational bottleneck keeps driving cost, risk, and customer frustration. When a customer needs to complete a regulated, high-stakes action, automation breaks. Bots understand intent, but they can't guarantee identity verification, required disclosures, regulatory sequencing, or compliant data capture. The result is a predictable operational leak, the automation gap, where conversation ends and compliant execution should begin. This gap is expensive. It keeps containment low, forces escalations, inflates AHT, and exposes institutions to compliance exceptions that regulators, FCA, FDIC, NAIC, PSD2, GDPR enforcement bodies, scrutinize aggressively. Callvu closes this gap. We provide the Agentic CX completion and compliance layer, the deterministic action engine that turns conversational intent into verified, compliant, audit-ready execution. Quick definitions. What is the automation gap in regulated CX? The automation gap is the failure point where conversational AI understands a request but cannot execute the regulated steps required to complete it. Authentication, disclosures, evidence capture, signatures, system updates. What is an Agentic CX completion and compliance layer? It's the system that executes high-stakes actions with deterministic logic, embedded compliance, and audit trails, bridging AI intent with back-end completion. Why can't chatbots and Gen AI execute regulated actions? They are built for language, not for workflow enforcement. They can't guarantee KYC, PCI, PSD, 2/IDD, mandated sequencing, data validation, or system calls required for regulated processes. The operational failures that create the automation gap. Executives across regulated industries feel the pain in the same recurring failures. N, I, G, O, not in good order errors. Unvalidated forms generate incomplete or incompatible data, forcing rework and triggering compliance exceptions. Data rekeying and manual validation. Agents transcribe chat transcripts, scan docs, or broken online forms into core systems, increasing AHT and error rates. KYC/AML breaks and missing disclosures. Failure to enforce mandatory identity verification, disclosures, or signature capture produces audit gaps, regulators penalize. AI intent with no compliant execution path. Gen AI can understand, I want to dispute this charge, but cannot execute the fraud dispute process in a compliant, auditable way. Conversational AI solves conversation. It does not solve completion. That's the core problem. Banking, automating account maintenance, disputes, and authenticated service requests. Banks in the US, UK, and EU face rising regulatory scrutiny on authenticated service flows, PCI, data handling, and dispute handling accuracy. Operational example. Beneficiary update. A customer asks a chatbot to update a beneficiary. The bot understands the request, but cannot. Trigger MFA. Present mandated disclosures. Validate fields. Log the action for audit. Push the update into the core banking system. Callvu closes the gap. The bot hands off to a secure Callvu micro app that enforces authentication, presents disclosures, collects validated data, and completes the back-end transaction, with a full audit trail. Proof story. A top-tier US bank used Callvu for fraud dispute automation. Results: 40% reduction in AHT, 25% drop in compliance exceptions, stronger audit evidence for regulatory review. Insurance, FNOL, and supplemental documentation automation. Claims organizations lose millions to delays, rework, and inconsistent evidence capture. FNOL failures are the biggest source of leakage. Operational example: Auto FNOL request. When a customer reports an accident, delays in collecting photos, signatures, and required disclosures slow the claim and increase loss costs. Callvu solves the execution gap. Callvu FNOL microapps guide the insured step by step. Capture mandatory photos, timestamped and geotagged. Auto-validate data entries. Present disclosures required under IDD/NAIC. Capture signatures. Generate a structured proof pack instantly. Value delivered: 15 to 30% increase in digital containment, 20 to 50% reduction in manual rework, faster adjuster triage, and lower leakage. Proof story: a major European insurer cut FNOL call time from 14 minutes to under 6 using Callvu micro apps for photo capture and evidence submission. Telecom: payment extensions, identity verification, and high-volume transactions. Telcos suffer from massive call volumes around payment extensions, billing disputes, upgrades, and identity verification. Operational example: payment extension request. Chatbots understand the intent, but the compliance friction is in the execution. High-assurance identity verification. Presentation of payment terms. Capturing and logging consent. Enforcing PCI scope control. Callvu handles the full regulated flow. A micro app performs ID and V, displays terms, captures e-signatures, and logs the agreement for compliance and audit review. Proof story: a leading UK telecom provider shifted 73% of billing and payment calls to digital self-service with Callvu's secure payment micro apps, reducing PCI scope and lowering operational cost. The Agentic solution: separate the tech that talks from the tech that acts. Conversational AI and Callvu play fundamentally different roles. Conversational AI, chatbots/Gen AI. Function: intent detection, dialogue, natural language understanding. Output: I want to file a claim. Limitations: cannot enforce policy sequencing, KYC, PCI, IDV, disclosures, signatures, or audit logging. Callvu Agentic CX completion and compliance layer. Function: deterministic action execution with embedded compliance. Output: the verified, logged, complete claim submission. Strengths: workflow enforcement, audit trails, secure system calls, regulatory guardrails, validated data capture, identity verification, automated backend integration. Callvu is not an AI competitor. It's the infrastructure that makes your AI deployable in regulated industries in the US, UK, and EU. Conclusion: regulated automation requires a completion layer, not just chat. The market has learned the hard way. AI that cannot perform regulated action will never scale. Banks, insurers, and telcos need a deterministic execution engine that guarantees compliance, auditability, and completion, not just conversation. Callvu delivers exactly that. We provide the Agentic CX completion and compliance layer that bridges the automation gap and makes regulated automation inevitable.